Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Toriko Unveiled. I know your stomachs are howling for another fixing of delicious Toriko content. First, go ahead and leave a like on the video. It helps small channels like mine get picked up in the algorithm, and that contributes to me making overall better content for you all. Last time, we finished up scaling the Heavenly Kings. Now we go further back and examine Akasha's 3 disciples, today beginning with the second eldest of the 3 and famous drunk, Knocking Master Jirou. Jiro's name, meaning both second son and 2 wolves, represents his upbringing, both as the son of the gourmet god Akasha, as well as being raised by the 8th king Battle Wolf Guinness. Jiro is so powerful that Akasha years ago had to seal his true power. Being raised originally as the adopted child of Guinness, he allegedly had a regular diet of red nitro. And in the Toriko world, that would mean Jiro directly received gourmet cells from high-level creatures, likely before he could even speak human languages. Along with his upbringing by Akashi and Froge, we see these circumstances shape the man we know as Knocking Master Jirou. And as this title implies, he is a master of knocking, a martial art in the Toriko verse that allows him to cancel out movement by striking at foes' weak points with precision and power. This allows him to paralyze enemies, along with negating some of their attacks. A skilled master like Jiro is capable of knocking many things, like I said, such as an opponent's attacks, the entire planet itself, or even time. As a note, he will receive several incalculable planetary feats in this showcase, but we have to take caution as the Toriko planet is much larger than our own, with an astonishing circumference of 220,000 kilometers and a volume 650 times higher than our own, which is far larger than even the celestial body of Neptune. Now being raised by some of the strongest beings in existence, he is a case of excellence disguised by his often laid-back, often nonchalant demeanor. Jiro perfectly captures in his first meeting this with Toriko and Komatsu. While appearing as a weak and feeble old man, Jiro undoubtedly saves the team within the Puffer Whale caves by not only reviving Komatsu, but also pointing their way out to safety afterwards. We see the very first case of Master Jiro's knocking early in the series here, when he first performs it on himself, releasing his overwhelming muscles. Almost comically, this is described in the Toriko world as intimidation knocking. Jiro is so adept at knocking that where Toriko and Coco could only capture and prepare a single puffer, Knocking Master Jirou is shown leaving the cave with an entire bucket of them. The puffer whale is a creature where even a single touch could ruin the entire preparation process, and Jiro captured all of these before Toriko and Coco could even reach the back of the cave. Going further into the extent of Jiro's knocking ability, with Grand Knocking, Jiro stopped the entire rotation of the planet, as well as even the smallest movements on the entire island that they were on. This by itself is an ability that breaks all natural conceptions of physics. To do this isn't simply a matter of force, but energy. Any force could stop the Earth's rotation if applied long enough, but in this case of Jiro's instantaneous world pause, and honestly, I think that this feat is nearly incalculable. I will attempt, however. The rotational energy of the Earth is about 51 trillion megatons of TNT. That's 2.515 times 10 to the 29th power. A typical modern day jet engine produces about 22 to 220,000 units of thrust, so it would take 3.2 times 10 to the 11th power, or 32 billion jet engines to rival the force of the Earth's rotation. And this still wouldn't add up to what Jiro did. Jiro, conceptually speaking, performed an incalculable feat here, and I can't really give a number for it, but I can tell you that if the entire planet's rotation stopped at once, it would not be good. Jim Zimbelman, a geologist from the Center for Earth and Planetary Studies, has said at the equator the Earth's rotational motion is at its fastest, about 1,000 miles an hour. If that motion suddenly stopped, the momentum would send things flying eastward. Moving rocks and oceans would trigger earthquakes and tsunamis. The still moving atmosphere would scour the Earth's landscapes. And that such an event would require the same amount of energy stored in the momentum of everything on our rotating planet. Let that one sink in for a second. However, if this incalculable feat of knocking didn't break your mind, Jiro's physical strength is also godlike. His Big Bang punched in a fragment of Neo to outer space, and Granny Setsu warns him not to strike the planet. And going further, his Guinness punch was strong enough to damage a significant portion of the planet. Here we start to get into the meat of the video. Jiro is capable of knocking damage itself, not only allowing him to dish out, but receive planetary level attack. Like when he took a blow from a blue nitro capable of shaking the mantle of the planet. And keep in mind once again that the Toriko Earth is much larger than our own. We'll briefly touch on the subject of his time-knocking abilities, but they seem to be on the same level, if not greater than the power of another infamous time-stopping ability. Jiro can freeze all around him momentarily, or in his case versus the Blue Nitro, freeze time, stopping damage and allowing himself full range of movement for a few seconds during the time stop. Meaning, literally, Jiro is conceptually faster than time, but for the sake of this video, without time knocking, he's fast enough to react to attacks from the Red Nitro and flick their heads off while knocking their bodies, whom all took several blows from Zebra post his battle with the Magma Turtle. Jiro has also fought several Blue Nitro, beings from another universe who Akashi once said no one could stand against, and has even knocked and could have defeated Akashi himself. During the Gourmet World arc, he even demonstrates to Toriko how beyond he was Toriko's own reaction speed and ability. He was able to knock an entire swarm of Gourmet World beasts out all within seconds. So far offensively and defensively, and conceptually, Jiro is on the scale of a planetary level fighter, and honestly that's not factoring in many of Toriko versus universal techniques such as ultimate routine, food, honor, luck, or immersion, all which are multipliers to the user's ability and senses. Ultimate routine would allow him to project his will onto opponents to make certain he strikes true. Food, honor, and immersion would allow him to store months worth of nutrients within his body and never have to eat. And food, luck, which could outright allow him to avoid any unfavorable situation. The only beings in Toriko I believe even capable of harming Jiro would have been God, Akashi himself, and the other 2 disciples, and the 8 kings. Personally, I don't think the 4 kings could remotely challenge Jiro or any of the other disciples. Jiro was capable of defeating a pre-resurrection Akashi. Midoriya fought toe-to-toe with a fully resurrected Akashi. And to add, we never really got to see Chiryu's full power, as he was stated to have held back in his battle against Midoriya, and was assassinated by the Blue Nitro pair, whom actually plays a much larger role in the story, but we'll get to his assassination and the rest of the disciples in the next few videos. Thanks for dining at the Psych Ward, everybody. Itadakimasu.